We got Mike Ricci from D3 Multisport on the podcast or on the video cast with us today. And a weird coincidence. We'll just get to this in a minute, but we are sitting in the high school mountain bike league conference room. I just love our community. Everybody's always so helpful, and I was looking for a little bit of office space today, and you live in Boulder, and I was in Boulder, so what the heck, right?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me on Garage Talk, which is now Conference Room Talk.
Yeah, we'll
something like that.
Trailer Talk.
Trailer Talk, sure.
But I wanted to catch up with you, and
yeah,
it's been a long time.
It's been a while.
How have you been?
I've been good. Just trying to manage this whole thing like everybody else, and really, it's day to day almost. It's like, it's like having a newborn. Every day you get up, it's going to be a little different, maybe not.
Right?
So, it's good. Kids are doing remote school, which is a little bit of a challenge because you got to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and, you got your job to do and other things to take care of. And, it's just, I'm not, I didn't know I was going to be a homeschool teacher, but I guess I am. So, like the rest of us. So, I just take on my new role and go with it, right? So, yeah, it's all good.
So, not to put you right on the spot right away, but what do you feel like maybe is the one thing that's really bubbled up in this period of time that you've learned about yourself that maybe you didn't know?
Yeah, it's a great question. Wow. I think we've all learned like how we deal with anxiety and just the stress of like the Groundhog Day. Like it's not going to change. Like when this whole thing started, you're like, 6 weeks we can do that. It's not a problem, right? And then that 6 weeks is now 6 months, right? So I don't know. You just learn to roll with it. But I think we've all, for me certainly. I have to take a minute every day and say, what am I grateful for, and how am I going to deal with things as they come up today? Like that's kind of how I approach it. Just like think about what put me in a happy place for one thing, do something that makes me happy, exercise, right, and then maybe just say, okay, if something happens, how am I going to handle it, and just be able to think through it and not react, because reaction is always the worst thing, right? So everybody's
have you softened a little, do you think, on certain things?
Have I softened?
If I asked Melanie, what would she say?
She'd laugh at that. My kids would laugh at that. Have I softened? No, I don't think so. I think I'm still the same guy. Yeah.
Still a Patriots fan?
Of course. I wore my Red Sox, just so you know. I have allegiance to the Red Sox too.
Oh, I figured that. That's probably fair.
See, that was something that made me happy yesterday. I put that shirt on. So
there you go.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird not having preseason football in it.
It's really
no build up,
no
all of a sudden first game is this week.
Right. Even baseball and watching it without any fans, kind of so odd.
But isn't that a little bit like triathlon too? Like all of a sudden there's a race, nobody's built up.
Right.
And there's a couple races. We had one last weekend. We've got the Littlefoot this weekend here in Colorado.
Yep, sure.
And around the country, there's just a pocket of a race here and there.
Yep. And
then bam, somebody wants to race.
Right.
What's it like coaching people like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think, one of the things is, keeping the athletes balanced and not, I think it's okay to do challenges, do different things like that if they want to go, ride Flagstaff 10 times or whatever it is. I think, maybe that might be a little over the top, but if they want to do that, that's fine. But knowing that if you do something like that and then a race pops up in a couple of weeks, you might be shot. So not to say we're always holding back, but we're doing what we should be doing in a normal build-up. And I'd say most of my athletes are probably 70.3 athletes. I got a few Ironman athletes, some Olympic distance athletes, but they're all in a normal kind of a training block. And, my athletes who are really striving for the podium next year, they are just continually being motivated by, I can move up in my age group because I'm taking advantage of this time and I'm training hard, versus the people in my age group that aren't. So they're thinking long term, which is great. So
right,
yeah.
Have you changed your coaching style much to meet this time?
Yeah, I think I have. I think we've done more things, less rigid, I would say, is one thing, and then maybe I listen to the athletes a little more when they say I want to do something. I'm like, okay, let's work it in.
Yeah.
I had one of my athletes just do a challenge last weekend that was an Ironman over. Was it an Ironman? It was a half Ironman over 4 days. So they had like 4 days to swim the 2K, bike the 56 miles, and then run. And this woman works and she's got kids, so she did like an early morning swim for 1,000 or so, and then did a 5-mile run. The next day she got up and did the 56 miles. The next day she swam again, and then the fourth day she finished the run or something. So just kind of put in pieces, like just do different things that make people happy and make them. And if they could do it in some sort of a pod of friends that allows them to have some fun. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I've always appreciated about your business is that you do a lot of, and we can get to this in a minute, but you do remote coaching, of course, and you have online plans and those sort of things. But you do have a
Yep.
group of people
We do.
in Boulder here that
Yep.
get together. Have you been doing some of that?
Yeah, so just recently, probably beginning of July, maybe we started our run group again, which has been great. Everybody socially distanced with a mask and trying to run intervals on the track. The track's a perfect place to do it because people naturally spread out, which is good.
Right.
We typically don't run in packs. Hill repeats, same thing. People kind of spread out a bit. Yeah, I think that's been good. There hasn't, nobody's really wanted to bike together, maybe 2 or 3 people at a time, but. And when I see a pod of 15 people going up the road together, I'm kind of like, that's probably not what they should be doing. But you got to go whatever your comfort level is, and if that's what your comfort level is, then that's fine. I mean, I just think that everybody, needs to back off people that are kind of getting in everybody's face about it. I'm like, if that's that person's comfort level, that's what it is,
Right.
So.
We were talking earlier before this about Matt Miller. You were talking to Matt, and we were talking with some other folks, and talk about the importance of the community for you.
Yeah, certainly. I think that, I've been in this community now 25 years this month, actually. I moved here. And there was no triathlon club when I moved to Boulder, which I thought was kind of shocking. I came from Rhode Island, which is the smallest state in the Union, and we had a triathlon club. Right. So I come out here to the Mecca, and there's no triathlon club. And I'll tell you the long story of it. I was getting a massage at Rally Sport. And this guy, Max Bowman, was giving me a massage, and he was a triathlete. And Max was a wild guy. He would say things, he had no filter, just tell you whatever he thought of everybody. He worked on a lot of pros, and it's kind of funny. And I said, well, we need a triathlon club. He goes, let's start one. And I was like, okay. So me and him and 6 or 7 other people got together, and we started the Boulder Tri Club. And I would meet people out on rides, and I'm like, yeah, you got to come to our Wednesday night pasta rides, or you need to come to this. And all of a sudden, we had like 300 people in the club. It was amazing.
That big?
It was amazing. Yep. 2001, we probably had 300 people. Yep. At the lowest we ever had was 200 maybe. I mean, it was just a lot of people. You go to a meeting with 50, 60, 80 people. I mean, it was just fantastic. And then it started to dwindle. You get different leadership and different ideas, and that's okay. It's kind of what happens naturally. And other clubs form, and then you get another, whatever, whether it's Rally or FAC, they have their own little tri groups. People kind of migrate between, whatever. But the community, in a situation like this, it's important to have those people. I haven't run with my run group in months, and then in July I was like, I need to go run my group. I just needed to get out there and have that community, and not even talk about running, but just talk about like what's going on in the world and how people feel, and all that stuff. The community piece of this really is probably helping the mental health of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because I feel that we're going to have some long-term issues with this stuff after, I mean, it's people are cooped up for a long time.
Yeah, it's not good.
You don't have an office mate. It's hard.
You're still married, right?
I'm still married. That's right.
That's your office mate and your wife, and
And my roommate.
your roommate. So what have you guys done as a family this year that maybe?
That's a great question. So we road trip to Park City, which I thought was a fantastic place. Got to play in the water and the pool and mountain bike and paddleboard and jet ski, and just did everything that can't do here because the res was closed or this, that, and the other. Mountain biking there was amazing. I can't wait to go back and do all of it. I did this traverse from one ski mountain to the other, which was just so much fun. Yeah.
Are you a big mountain biker all the time?
I mountain bike often. I would say I'm more medium. I wouldn't say I'm an expert anyway, but medium.
Okay.
Done my fair share of Xterras and love that stuff. Xterra to me is just like outside the box, grassroots, and let's just go have fun and don't care about placing. I just want to go out there and finish without too much blood on me. So that's always my goal.
Right.
I did Beaver Creek one year. It was a regional championship, and I promised myself I wouldn't walk. And so, it's a steep uphill, at 800 feet or whatever, 8,000 feet. Run across, you traverse, then you come back down the last 2 miles, you run. And then Conrad Stoltz had won the race, and he was like the world champion at the time. And he gets up there to get his reward, and he goes, I only walked 3 times. And I'm like, he walked. I'm like, wow, he walked. I could have walked.
Yeah.
And not felt bad about it.
Right.
But no, I think, Park City's great. And then we went out to Gunnison to see my brother-in-law and his family, and we water skied out there and did some wakeboarding, and that was a lot of fun.
Did you go to Black Canyon?
We did not go there, but that is on the list.
Oh man, I was just down there. It's
gorgeous.
gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
It really is amazing.
My wife keeps telling me about it. So
Gunnison is a cool little area.
Yep.
There's a lot of recreation.
A lot of recreation. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. So what's your in a general way, like, what's your athletic background in terms of, did you do all the triathlon and so forth before coaching, or did it kind of all come together?
That's a great question. So, I grew up playing ball sports, so baseball, basketball, a little football, a little bit of track. Always generally swam for fun, never swam competitively. I used to bike to and from football practice. Of course, I ran a little bit here and there. I mean, I'm the kid in high school that would get up and run 10 miles before school for whatever reason. I don't know. I just used to do it. I would bike to school. I would swim after school sometimes just to get in the pool. I didn't know how to swim. I didn't know how to rhythmic breathe. I couldn't put my face in the water. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. And then when I was 19, one of my friends said, hey, you can come lifeguard with me over at this place. And at the time, I was making $3.35 an hour working in the supermarket. And she was like, hey, they're paying $6 an hour. I'm like, $6 an hour? That's crazy. So
right.
I went and got my lifeguard certification. I re-upped it. I already was certified for a number of years. And the guy who was running the pool said, hey, I'm going to need some coaches for a swim team. I'm starting a swim team. Why don't you get your certification? I'm like, I know nothing about swimming. He goes, that's why you're going to get certified. So I went to this American Red Cross class for, I don't even know how many weeks, 6 weeks. And then all of a sudden I'm a certified swim coach, which I knew nothing about swimming. I learned a lot about swimming, obviously. This guy was amazing, Barry Fontaine. I think we won the division in 2 years. We had a team from scratch. And at the same time, I was walking on my college cross-country team because I had done a triathlon at that point.
Okay.
And I was the 7th guy, and I was running probably slightly under 35 minutes for 5 miles. So I was a 7-minute miler.
Gotcha.
By the time I graduated, I started reading a lot and understanding, some physiology and that kind of thing, and I worked myself down to about 28 flat for 5 miles. So
that's good.
Got a little better. And then I had people at the pool would walk up to me and say, hey, can you write me a 5K plan? Could you write me this? Could you write me that? And I started doing that. And I think in 1992 I wrote my first triathlon plan for someone. And then I graduated college and went to work in the real world. And then by 2000, I was ready for something new. And I was working in finance, and I decided that I wanted to be a triathlon coach. And I was at the Rio with some of my friends, and I said, one of my friends worked at Velo News at the time, and I said, what do you think? He's like, yeah, you could do it. And I was like...
Were you doing triathlons?
I was racing.
You were racing?
Yeah, my first race was 88.
And you kept racing?
I kept racing, yeah. Went to nationals like every other year, yeah. Did my first Ironman in 93, so yeah, just kind of wet my feet in all of it. But yeah, just... bit the bullet and met Melanie, and here she's gonna marry this guy who's got a nice job, and she had a great job, and I was like, I'm quitting my job and I'm gonna start a triathlon coaching business, and she was like, all right. She was all behind it. So.
Did you keep competing right away, or?
I did, because it was it wasn't slow growing the business, but that was the way to meet people and get out there and get in the meet people and everything. And then I think by 3rd or 4th year, I went to 7 or 8 Ironmans that year in the country. I just flew to all of them.
Oh, wow.
To meet my athletes, meet other people, and really grew the business. And just kind of the old school way to do it.
What would be your most accomplished or most proud moment as an athlete?
Can I say when I was 12?
Yeah, I don't care, sure.
So when I was 12, we were playing the undefeated Fiore baseball team. I played for the 4th Ward Democrats. And we were a pretty average team, but we were good. We were going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of kids on the team that had never struck out that year. And this was probably the 12th to 13th game of the year. And I think I had... So there's, Little League is 6 innings, is 18 outs. I think I had 14 strikeouts. So that was cool.
Yeah.
We almost beat them. Of course we didn't.
14 strikeouts, you didn't win. No?
Didn't win. I can tell you the kids that made errors. I can tell you their names. I can tell you exactly what happened.
Oh, gosh.
So this one kid who was hitting was probably their best hitter, and I was throwing this wicked changeup that night, and I had this. I threw this fastball to this kid, and I saw his eyes light up, and I was like, "Crap!" And this is what a major league pitcher feels like. And this kid's eyes got so big, and he swung. He hit the ball so hard that center fielder got out of the way of the ball.
Oh my gosh!
He was like, and he got it off the wall, and he got a double, and I was like, "Man."
Did you ever play Multisport?
No. That would have been awesome.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Yeah. Huh. So then you were a good triathlete. You probably podiumed here and there. Won a few, whatever.
When I was racing in New England, I was, top 10, top 5 overall most of the time. When I moved out here, I went to my first nationals on the way out here. I probably ran a sub 40 10K, which wasn't a big deal, but I biked a flat hour at nationals, and I came in 63rd in my age group.
So but is it fair to say that your athletic prowess it probably didn't elevate your coaching? Is more how you looked at coaching, or how would you?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say I'm a better coach than I am an athlete for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, if that's what you're asking me, yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I would never go to a start line unless I thought I could be competitive. But at the same time, yeah, I don't know. I think I can coach anybody to do anything. That's different confidence. You know what I mean? Like
maybe you're like Phil Jackson. I just stopped watching the Last Dance. Phil Jackson played for the
But he was a good athlete.
He was a good athlete, but he was a really good coach.
Right, he was a really good coach. Right. I don't know if I'm in the same breath as Phil Jackson.
But
yeah. I'll take Vince Lombardi.
But you're a level 3 USAT
Right,
coach, which
right.
means you've gone through a lot.
Yep.
And you were just telling me earlier that you're going to add something to your
Yeah, I
repertoire.
got to do para certification. I've
What
coached.
motivated you for that?
I coached a para athlete a while back. And it was really it was fun. It was different. Different challenges. Different physiological challenges, different mental challenges. Just the way to approach the whole race is different. Para athletes really have to race their strengths. There's no holding back. I mean, if you're a good cyclist and you're not a good runner, you got to build a lead on the bike. I mean, it's just different. If you're a good swimmer, you got to swim as hard as you can. And then I've been coaching another local para athlete here that has a ton of potential, and I want to learn everything I can to help him maximize, what's going on. And I think that there's, with my military background, I think the para sport is going to grow quite a bit, and I'd really be interested in coaching, military athletes that are, para athletes.
What is your military background?
I was in the Marine Corps for 6 years.
Okay.
So yeah, I served in Desert Storm. That was in 1991. So yeah.
How does that play a role in how you coach, or
Or
has it?
Yeah, it has. I don't. It's really hard for me to understand when people may say they don't have time to do something, or they didn't get to it, or I'm kind of like, okay, well, you could have, you could have got up at 3:00 to make it happen, right?
Right.
And I have athletes that are totally locked in like that, and I have athletes that I've got to kind of prod here and there, you know. So it's a good balance.
So I've spent time with you, sort of formally and informally, and we had fun in Kona hanging out.
Sure.
And you
we drink Mai Tais?
I'm not sure we did. But you have an innate teacher in you. Like, you enjoy giving a tip, or you look at something and you have that teaching gene and maybe that influence. Was there anybody in your life that really brought that to you?
Yeah, that's a rough question. That's a rough question. I don't know. I just grew up learning how to help people, I guess. That's the big thing. I had some good coaches and I had some bad coaches. And I always thought if I got myself in this position, I would always do a better job of that. So yeah, there's that. And then I have a brother my brother just passed away, and he was a great coach.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
And good influence. And I started coaching my daughter's basketball team.
Yep.
And I would run into things I had never seen. I'd call him up, I'd text him, dude, you gotta help me out. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. He would draw up a play and text it to me. Here you go. This is how you beat this thing. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. I run it in practice, and I'm like, calling back, like, that really works. He goes, yeah, just do it in the game, dude. It'll be fine. And it worked, So I've had some good mentors. I've had some good people that have helped me. I think, for me, innately, I like to help people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was in finance for a long time. I was in the big, people making big bucks. It wasn't my thing. Like, I enjoyed helping people, and, just seeing, people reach goals they never thought they were going to reach, or hit a time they didn't think they could hit. Like, even when someone comes to me and they say, yeah, I'd like to run a 22-minute 5K. I'm like, all right, 20:30. Okay, that's what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking 22. And hopefully every coach thinks like that. But I'm just thinking, let's get beyond that, right? And I think, when I was coaching CU, I would always tell the kids, a good coach, obviously can write a good plan, but that's I always say a monkey can write a good plan. I don't think that's really a gift. I think a gift is just getting people to believe in themselves and believe that they can do more than what they're capable of. I think that's what a good coach does. I think that's the bigger thing. And I think, if you've had coaches, you know that. It's not always that rah-rah football stuff like you see in the movies or whatever. It's having the relationship to say, this guy really does believe in me, and I'm going to go out there and do my best. Not just for him, but for me too, right? Like there's got to be some impetus there. So yeah.
We talk about the basketball play, and I coach my daughter as well.
Okay.
And that's a tactical thing, right?
Tactical.
It's a tactical thing. You
Right.
tell people where to go here and there and
Right.
so forth, right?
Right.
But triathlon coaching, there's definitely tactical
Mhm,
things,
mhm.
but the mental is
Huge.
huge, right?
Huge. Right. Like Karen Smyers used to say, it's 80% mental. Right.
So what do you, and so that's what you really
Mhm.
try to focus on.
Yeah, I think, well, I think one thing that I always try to, I try to blend the physical and the mental. So, in my opinion, if you can get somebody to do really hard workouts, they're mentally ready to do the race, right? Like if you can make the workouts harder than the race, which is miserable, right? Like no one wants it, if you're going to go race an Olympic distance and you've got to run, 6:10 off the bike, but you're going to run mile repeats at 6:20 in the middle of July by yourself and it's 95 degrees out and your only motivation is your shadow that's chasing you around the track. Like that's hard, but when you get out there with other people to chase, it becomes a little easier, right, racing wise. So I think it's just putting people in difficult situations and seeing how they do with it. And some people do really well with it and some people don't do well with it. So you could have two people racing for the, racing the same event with the same goals, but it might be completely different the way you mentally approach it because somebody may be like, beat me down like a dog because this is what I want.
Right.
This is what's going to make me better. And someone you got to be a little bit, kick gloves because they're a little bit, you can't push them too far because they'll just break and then they're worthless, right? You just can't do it. So you got to be careful with that. But I do think that the physical and the mental, sometimes it can be taught together.
Right.
So
I'll be a little unfair, but you probably have a lot of great stories that come to mind when you think about some of your most proud coaching moments or strategies or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But is there maybe a story about an athlete that just makes you get out of bed every day? Is there somebody that
there's a million. Yeah.
Is there one that you could share that just wow,
Oh.
this person did this and I can't believe it and it's best feeling ever.
Oh man, that's too many.
It's too many.
It's too many.
Yeah.
If I think of one by the end, I'll mention it. But I just one of the reasons I enjoyed coaching CU is because it was a team.
Yeah.
And we had 80 kids and we'd have 60 kids show up for practice. And the way I always looked at it was, you got kids in lane 1 swimming, 110s and 105s, and you got kids in lane 6 that are trying to break 2 minutes, right? And everything in between. And the way I always looked at it was the kids in lane 5, didn't want to get passed by the kids in lane 6 that were slow, and that works all the way down the pool. So theoretically, lane 6 is pushing lane 1, right? Because they're all just trying to push each other a little bit fast. Same thing on the track. Like, one guy's running, an 8-minute 400, and the next guy's running a 120, but now he's about to lap that guy. But the 8-minute guy is not going to let him lap him, right? He's going to push hard, and that's going to push that guy. So that whole camaraderie thing, like, that's always the fun part. So for me, I think, coaching triathlon in a team respect is just, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun when it all comes together.
How long did you do coach CU?
5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just, we interviewed Barbara Perkins, who's just now the new coach at DU, which is
nice.
a varsity program.
Yeah, right.
And
that's great.
Yeah, and then I interviewed the Air Force team.
Okay.
Did the Lookout Mountain Tri last
Yeah.
weekend. And I asked them about, do you guys want to become a varsity sport?
Uh-huh.
And I wonder what your answer would be to this. They said no, because they want the boys and girls to be able to compete together.
Right.
Which,
Yeah,
if CU did that, they would have probably only women.
they'd have only women. Right. Well, Arizona's going to do men and women this
Yeah.
year, but they're getting outside, funding, I think, for that.
But that really speaks to the camaraderie.
Right. Air Force, Army, Navy, those schools, never mind, they don't have to be funded. They have some of the best athletes in the country, and I think that those could really be good programs for us as an Olympic pipeline if they really wanted to get the right people in to coach them and really, learn the sport of ITU racing.
Could be interesting with COVID and maybe how some of the programs at universities are affected, and maybe that opens up doors for things like triathlon.
Yeah, maybe. I just think, I was reading something today, it just said that, like, even though we're missing, football and the bigger sports, the small sports are suffering too. Yeah. People don't go out to watch cross country except if it's your kid racing, right? Like, no one goes out to watch a cross country race in college, but everybody goes to a football game.
Right.
But even those sports that are not funded that well and don't have spectators, like even those kids are getting hurt. That really stinks. It's too bad.
How has COVID impacted D3?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think that we've learned to adapt. That's one thing. We learned to adapt. right away we were, figuring out a way to do stuff online and learn Zoom and learn how to do, whether it was, a strength session or a core session. We've done mobility sessions, we did bike sessions, we did swim paddle sessions, all different kinds, swim band sessions, all different kind of things to engage the athletes. Because, your first thought is you're going to lose your business, right? Like that's the number one thing. And how do you make it so you at least retain your athletes? And I've realized that, growing the business at this point is probably not going to happen, but you've got to figure out a way to keep your athletes and keep them happy. And I feel like we've hopefully got to a point in the pendulum that it's going to start swinging the other way, that, we're going to see a race in April, or even if it's strictly COVID with a lot of masks and social, that's fine. At least put something on the calendar that people say, I can go do Oceanside, or I can go do Ironman Texas, and then people will start signing up for those events, or they'll change their, because Ironman wasn't nice enough to give people their money back, transfer their funds, right? And then, I need a coach, and then that'll start picking up again, hopefully. But I think, from just looking around town and stuff, there's so many people on bikes and out running, and you can tell they're new runners because you see what they're wearing, and you're like, wow, that guy's out there with
a new biker.
But Bill, I have seen people out there with like 1985 Centurions and styrofoam helmets. So I'm like, that guy pulled the bike down from the raft of his garage, and he inflated the tires, and he get out and he's riding, and he gets some oil on the chain. But otherwise,
it's a little dangerous on the bike path right now.
It's a little dangerous, but it's great to see everybody out there. Maybe these people will sign up for an event. So I have some hope that we can grow the sport still, and of course USAT's doing all they can too. So I think that everybody's doing a pretty good job.
I'll be curious if they'll ever do like an e-bike division for particularly like either somebody with a disability or a certain age.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because I was at Lookout Tri, and there was like 4 people over 80 doing it. And there's some really hilly spots.
Yeah, I heard
they were really struggling. And I will be too when I'm that age. But I wonder if they might look at stuff like that to kind of expand.
I think there's supposed to be a limit, right? It's only supposed to be so many watts on the bike. Like some
they
of
have
the
3 classes.
Okay, so the ones I see on the bike path are like zipping by me at 25 miles an hour. Like I'm cruising home at 18, 20, and these guys go zipping by me, and I'm like, well, that's kind of fast.
Right, I know. Yeah, I don't mean that class of a bike, but maybe some kind of an assist for certain people. That'd be interesting.
My first experience, it's probably a couple summers ago, I was coming up the backside of Old Stage. It was hot, and I'm sweating, and I'm, like just trying to get in shape like everybody else and get to the top, and I could see the top a couple hundred feet away. This guy goes zipping by me, and I'm like, is that an e-bike? He's like, yeah. And I was like, just shaking my head. Like, I would have given anything to get on that bike at that point, right?
But I love it. It's just brought so many other people into the sports. Yeah. Well, that's, it's great to see you, and I'm glad things are going pretty well.
Thank you.
And, do you have new plans for D3 or yourself that coming up in the next
we're
few months?
rolling out some new things the next couple of weeks. We're doing some stuff with Training Peaks, partnering some stuff there. The para thing will be a big deal. We're just always trying to throw new things at the dartboard and see what sticks. And just want everybody to be happy and healthy and safe, and be smart, right? So
one of our questions is, what have you learned most about in COVID in general? It just, you mentioned flexibility earlier. I think you just learn that you gotta be a little more patient with people and understand what their comfort level is with things. That's the one thing I've learned, and I think that I've always thought that, but now's the time to put it in practice and realize that. Like this is fine for me and you. Somebody else's may not be fine, right? Like this is, I get it. Our kids are interacting with a lot of other kids, and some parents are like, you can't go in the house. Some parents are like, oh, there's 4 kids there, I don't want you there, and that's fine. That's whatever their comfort level is totally. I'm probably on the stricter side with that stuff with my kids, but that's my comfort level, and hopefully it's all good, and hopefully we're out of this thing in another 6 months. Well, thank you, Melanie, for allowing Mike to come over here and hang out with me at the Colorado High School Mountain Bike League. Thanks to the league for letting us sit here. That was really nice of them, and it's great to catch up with you. You too, Bill. Thank you. Yeah. All right.